In today's video, I've got some hand sanding to do, and then we begin the gun bluing process. We're gonna gun blue the blade and fittings and get my beautiful black mirror finish onto everything. Before I go in deep with all the hand sanding I have to do, I need to round these corners off. So you can see a little bit of a white line around the end. I used a little bit of whiteout when the handle was assembled and lightly dabbed it around the edges of my handle. And that outlined where the metal parts of the fitting ended and where I need to put this little bit of a museum fit or bull-nosed area. I would normally use a carbide scribe to lightly make a mark around the fitting instead of using the whiteout, but since the really unique shape of my fittings, I couldn't really get to this bottom area right here, so I used the whiteout and it seemed to be working pretty well. I'm just going in with some 320 grit and lightly putting a bit of a bevel on here, and then I'll refine it down more with some 600 and then maybe 1000. I don't need to get this bull nose to the same finish as the rest of the handle because it's such a small surface area, it'll buff up super easily. I just finished shaping the bull nose ends to the handle, so we get that nice museum fit now between the fittings and the wood part of the handle, and it looks really, really nice. It's cool how just rounding those sharp corners over on the ends of the handle can really make the knife look and feel a little bit different. I now have a bunch of hand sanding to do. The fittings are at 320, the handle is at 600, the blade is at 600, and I pretty much need to get everything all the way up to 3000. So we're gonna have to go through a bunch of grits, lots and lots of hand sanding to do, but then gun bluing. The blade, the fittings, we're gonna get them all gun blued and hopefully they're gonna be absolutely gorgeous. The blade is ready for bluing and I am feeling really apprehensive right now. This is gonna be the largest anything I've ever blued before. I have gun blued a couple of blades in the past. They were just mono steel and they had this really beautiful black finish. Never blued one this big. This is like a 15.5-inch blade. So there's a lot of square footage, which means there's a lot of area for something to go wrong on it. I've got this blade also finished out to the finest grit I've ever done on a blade before. We've got a 3000 grit and then I went through a 2-stage buffing process on it as well to get it as close to a mirror finish as I could so that gun bluing will look absolutely amazing. And something I may not have mentioned before about this blade is that the Damascus is made with pure nickel. So that's what's really special about this, something I've never done before. The edge of the blade has a strip of mono steel on it, so the nickel won't inhibit the cutting action of this because the nickel won't harden.
The next day.
I've got some help today for the bluing. I'm gonna take you on a little tour real quick and show you the setup we're gonna be doing. We got a cleaner going, we got the salts heating up and everything. But before we do that, I'm gonna have a quick coffee break for good luck. All right, let's go in the house and I'll show you the cleaning setup. So this is my mom. She's working on getting the cleaners to the right temperature right now. So we've got some distilled water in a drywall pan, and I've got a little bit of a special cleaner in there that comes with the bluing salts, and it's gonna hopefully chemically clean this. So mom is keeping track of the temperature and stirring it and then keep it exactly at 180 degrees. And then we're gonna get the blade cleaned off with some dish soap, and then we'll put it in here for the chemical clean and leave it in there for 3 to 5 minutes. And we'll take it outside, rinse it off, and get it in the bluing salts. So let's go outside and I'll show you the bluing salt setup we're using today. So Dad is keeping a really, really close eye on the bluing salts, getting them heated up to the perfect temperature over there in his chair. No, he was just looking at him a second before we came out. So this is the bluing salt tank, and it's barely long enough for this knife. In fact, I had to make the tang about an inch shorter than I normally would and make the pommel nut longer just to fit it in here. And even then, I think we're gonna have to put it in here diagonally from corner to corner. The blade is also gonna sit vertically in there. It's pretty much the only way it's gonna fit. And I'm gonna have the edge rest on the bottom of the tank, and then we're gonna hold the tang end up with a little piece of wire. This is a nice little setup Dad made. We bought the tank from Brownells, and the salts are from Brownells, and the thermometer. But Dad made the stand and this pipe burner here running on propane. And yeah, we're just gonna heat the salts up to 280 to 295 degrees, kind of in that range. And it should be nice and boiling. If it's not boiling properly, then it won't blue properly, and so we've got to make sure it's boiling when it hits that proper temperature. The salts can be a little finicky. Sometimes you got to add more water in, or you got to add more salt in, depending on what temperature it's boiling at. If it's boiling below the target temperature, that means you need more salts to raise the boiling temperature. If it's boiling above the target temperature, then that means you need to add more water in there to lower that boiling temperature. It's finally time to get this blade cleaned up with dish soap under running water first, then the chemical cleaner, then the bluing salts, and we're gonna see how it comes out. But I think I need another coffee break for good luck today. 2 is gonna barely be enough. All right, let's do it before I chicken out. Chunks of buffing compound on there. I think I've got it rinsed off really well. I'm gonna put my little hanger thing on the tang, and we're going in the cleaner. There she goes. I'm gonna leave it in there for 4 or 5 minutes. We'll take it out, rinse it, and get it in the bluing salts. It's been a few minutes. I'm gonna take the blade out and rinse it under the sink, and then we'll rinse it again outside and put it in the bluing salts. It's not boiling. It needs to be boiling.
It will.
Oh man. It took me a long time to get it in there. That might have ruined everything right there, because it was like halfway in there for like 10 seconds. This needs to be boiling. It's turning black. I can see the spine of the blade in there. Blade's been in there for 12 or 13 minutes or so. I'm gonna take it out and get it rinsed off and do a little inspection on it, and if everything's looking really good, we'll get it into some boiling water to neutralize the salts that are on the blade, leftover residue and everything. Well, it looks like you can rub bluing off when it's fresh or something. Yeah, the whole thing's ruined. Apparently the bluing just rubs off. I've had that before, but I never caught, because it all looked perfect this time. I've seen smudges like that before, but it must have happened. It must have smudged before I saw it all clean. This was all this looked perfect on both sides. And then I started rubbing it with a paper towel and it's like smearing off in certain areas, but it's not doing it everywhere. I don't know if the oxide just needed to like set up or something. Like if it needed to go into the water displacing oil right away and then just sit there and maybe it would set up or something. And this area right here where it didn't get put in right away, it looks all weird. It's like hazy, crackly looking texture all over. Completely and utterly horrible.